Hello and welcome to this 2024 wrap-up and 2025 preview. If you are new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. My name is Sarah Waggle. I am an astrologer and a leadership life coach. So I combine astrology and a lot of coaching tools to support you in moving through all of the transits. So let's get into this presentation and see how 2024 shaped out for you and exactly what is in store in 2025. Let's do it. Okay, so here was the energetic overview for 2024. And so let's just review what happened for you, what came up for you. I mentioned that there was a lot of war energy in the chart because we're in the midst of a lot of repeating transit cycles from war times, including the United States Revolution, the French Revolution, the United States Civil War, World War II, and all of those things. But I put in this little reminder that the war may be within yourself. And this could be related to friend groups or relationships or your war with yourself in the career or job path or something like that. And so I put that reminder in there. So how did that come out for you? And then from January to March, it was going to be really focused on introspection and self-empowerment and personal development. We had a really slow start to the year, not a lot of movement at the beginning, and then it kind of kicked into gear later on, as you see in April through June. That core wounds would resurface because of the solar eclipse we had on April 8th and Chiron's involvement and your reevaluation of your dependence, your codependence versus your independence and interdependence. In my opinion, we are meant to be interdependent. In other words, we're not meant to do this life alone. We are meant to do this life with other people helping us and us helping and serving them as well. And that was a lot to do with the nodes being in North Node Aries, South Node Libra. From July through September, we had a lot of activity. It felt very slow energetically because of all of the retrogrades, but there was a lot of activity in the world around us. And so it kind of had to do with how you responded or reacted to the activities in the real world or in your personal life from July to September. From October to December, where we are finishing up, we had the getting clear and getting confident and clearing space and clearing out emotional wounds, possibly some emotional instability. This would have covered that United States election, which definitely created some instability and yet not. So how did you do? How did this energetic overview play out for you? Let me know in the comments. Alrighty, here were the notable dates from 2024. We had January through February was a little crazy with that Aquarius season and all of the planets passing through Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius. And so that was really interesting. In fact, they were all in Aquarius on my birthday. I thought that was pretty cool. April 8th, we had that huge solar eclipse, total solar eclipse, conjunct Chiron at 19 degrees of Aries, where Chiron is currently sitting retrograde. He'll be direct by the end of the year. But so a lot of things popping up from that solar eclipse. That was really beautiful. I got to see it in where I live, and I thought it was really fascinating to see what God could do with the sky. It was honestly, I was almost moved to tears. So how was that April 8th? And if I remember correctly, shortly thereafter was the bridge collapse, which was on the Saturn-Mars conjunction in Pisces. And so that was an interesting time. We had a lot of things going on with water this year, which was to be expected with Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. April 20th was the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus. So maybe something happened for you around that. I think that was a really good time for somebody that I know who has planets and points near where that conjunction happened. May 25th was Jupiter in Gemini. How's Jupiter in Gemini been? That was kind of a precursor and a little bit of however you may have responded to Jupiter in Gemini since May 15th of 25th of this year may be an indicator of how you may go with Uranus and Gemini in 2025. We'll get to that. But just be attentive to how you've been with Jupiter in Gemini, because it may give you an idea of how you need to be or adjustments that you need to make before Uranus enters Gemini. And so we had that. We had on July 15th, the Mars-Uranus conjunction. Last one was July 31 of 2022. Okay, but let's talk about the one from 2024, because that was a doozy. That was right around the time that the attempted assassination of now President-elect Trump. And also it was around the time that current President Biden stepped down and Kamala Harris stepped up. And so that was an interesting time frame, that end of July, the 15th through the end of July. And then October, we had Pluto back in Capricorn for 11 weeks. And that was a really interesting experience. We saw a lot happening with government and power. That was also covering the United States election. And I think that's when we really saw Pluto going towards Aquarius, really hearing the people say what they needed to say. They certainly showed up at the polls for that election. It was pretty remarkable. And so what do I have here? And then we had Mars, the Mars retrograde. Yeah. October through June of 2020, May of 2025, sorry. We are currently in this Mars retrograde. It's in Leo, but it'll shortly be moving back into Cancer. And we're definitely seeing a lot of Mars activity with people and their actions and their attitudes and feistiness and behavior and all of that. So that'll be interesting to pay attention to in the second half of the Mars retrograde in 2025, with Mars moving back into Cancer. So how were those dates for you? What came up for you? Did you have some epiphanies? Did things happen for you? All of those sorts of things. Let's move on. And here we have the Mercury retrogrades from 2024. We had the April Mercury retrograde in Aries. We had the August 5th Mercury retrograde from Virgo into Leo. That was a tough one, right? August was a tough month. That was a lot of activity going on in Leo season in the month of August. And then we had the November Mercury retrograde from 25 Sagittarius, and that was right after the presidential election that it went into shadow. And so you had those opportunities to really get clear and clarify some stuff. So hopefully you were able to do that and feel through some things. How did travel go? Things like that. Good opportunity to kind of reflect and where you can make adjustments for upcoming Mercury retrogrades. I do know somebody who had a really rough August with a Mercury retrograde, who typically does well during a Mercury retrograde, but that one hit a certain part of their chart that was a little bit more challenging than a typical Mercury retrograde. So we definitely look for patterns in these retrograde cycles to see how we can make adjustments for the next one. So learn to work with Mercury retrograde. And finally, in 2024, for the wrap up, we had the eclipses. We had the March 25th lunar eclipse. That one was at 15 Libra. We had a lot of activity across the pond over in the Middle East with the Libra eclipses, from the one in October of 2023, I think it was. And then we certainly saw that again with Libra eclipses in 2024. The April 8th solar eclipse, I already talked about this one at 19 Aries. Once again, that's where Chiron's camping out for the foreseeable future. So we've definitely got a lot of core wounds surfacing, a lot of cleansing happening with Aries eclipses, really focusing on yourself and what you need to let go and be good with yourself as we continue to move forward. The September 17th was a lunar eclipse and at 25 Pisces. This was right around the time of the arrest, I believe, of P. Diddy. And so we will certainly be seeing some more things happening with that situation because the nodes are moving into Pisces Virgo in 2025. So we're not done with the September, with things that happened around September 17th. So whatever you were up to around that time, you're going to want to make note of those things that happened. Put that in your journal and save it for March, because we're going to see more activity around things that started around September 17th of this year of 2024. October 2nd was the solar eclipse at 10 degrees of Libra. That was, I believe, the last Libra eclipse that we will have. We're not done with Aries eclipses. We'll get to that in a second. But I believe we had more activity happening once again with the Middle East and things like that. And so what happened for you? What were you up to? I was on vacation during this eclipse, so that was fun. I would think I was at Niagara Falls, cleansing away a lot of stuff in the falls. And so that was fun. So that was what was happening for me. How'd you pan out for those eclipses? Okay, ready or not, here comes 2025. This year is going to be different, and in a different way than the last 4 years have been different. There is no going back to whatever we had before, whatever you called normal, whatever you called it. There's no going back. And I feel like this is the year to be delusional in the best way possible. Set the bar high for yourself. If that's work, if that's in relationships, if that's in how you care for your home, your priorities, the things that interest you, how you do projects, how you keep track of your projects. Set the bar high. Don't cut yourself so much slack. Now, the year's not going to come in hot because Mars is in retrograde, and we've got a lot of initial introspection and things like that. But most of the rest of 2025 is going to be a wild ride, and buckle up, because you're gonna wanna be on the ride and doing things that you enjoy. Because if you're on the ride and you're doing things that you are miserable about, it's going to be a lot more difficult. So let's get into it. And before we get into the 2025 energies, here's how you can work with me in 2025. I am hoping to set you up for having a stellar freaking year. I have a coaching background, I have an education background, and I dabble in two different types of astrology: personal development astrology and wellness astrology. So I have the wellness astrology session. That's where you can get the best fitness and nutrition activities, consumption, which, because nutrition is not just food, but consumption, media, entertainment, books you read, content you consume, that sort of thing. So best nutrition, best fitness, according to your natal chart. We work right with your natal chart to give you some things to work with, and then you can give them a try for a little bit. We reconvene and do a follow-up. And that's how the wellness astrology opportunity works for you. So you can enroll in that. The link is down below. And then I have Astro Coaching. This is freaking amazing. So you can work with me for 3 or 6 months, and we can work on you learning to embody your chart. So I bring what I have from astrology and coaching to really support you in understanding your sun, your moon, your rising, your Mercury, your Mars, your Venus, and really work with you on how to move through different transits, how to work with the different personal planets. We can also dive in with the nodes and Pluto and Saturn to really see what your life is meant to be, how and why things are showing up the way they're showing up in your life. So this is just a deep dive. This is a really big deep dive into coaching and with your astrology. You do not have to know astrology to book with me. I can know the astrology and you can just do your part. And so you can book an AstroGoals session with me to get information about the astro coaching. But if you really want to capitalize on 2025 and get yourself prepared to reap the rewards for 2026, I highly recommend astro coaching. Again, it's a 3 or a 6 month commitment. It's 2 sessions a month with me, and then there will be follow-up in between. So that's what I have to work with me. And the links for all of this is below. And so there you go. I hope that is helpful, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you for those of you who have booked the Astro Goals. It's been a blast to really get to know you and chat with you about your astrology. And I mean, I just love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, let's move on. And here we go. Here's the energetic overview for 2025. We have the 2025 is a year to go after what you want. It's really a year to go after it, knowing that it may not happen and you may not see the results until 2026. So you basically have this 12-month period. It's actually more like a 13-month period of time where you're gonna go after stuff that may not look like what you thought when it actually transpires, if that makes sense. And so it's going to be the year of false starts, or like things just not going the way you wanted, but you're going to keep taking action anyway, because why not? If there's anything that we've all maybe learned in the first half of this decade, is like the world's going to do what the world's going to do, right? And you can either be miserable, complain, and be dissatisfied with everything that's going on, or you can thrive and be abundant and have fun and be in gratitude about it. So really take stock. Do you complain a lot, or are you grateful for, damn, I've made a lot of progress. Damn, I've really accomplished a lot. Damn, I may not be where I thought I was going to be, but I have an inkling that by 2026, many of us are going to start to see what we have been working towards since 2020 and even before 2020. So give this year the opportunity to unfold itself as you continue to take inspired action. And don't forget to be grateful even for things that don't pan out as you had planned or you intended. 2025 is a year of an unseen door that is available but not yet visible. So what this means is what I just said about 2026. There's everybody's kind of going for something, and everybody kind of has an idea, not everybody, but people that I've worked with, clients I've had, friends that I have, all of us are kind of working towards something. And yet there's one little thing that we can't, the piece of the puzzle is missing. The one little piece of information is missing. And yet you got to keep going, because the door will reveal itself in due time. Now, it probably will show up differently at different times for each of us. But the point is that there's this unseen opportunity. And here's my kind of what I'm feeling about it. If you want this opportunity to be a grand opportunity, take the inspired action, be grateful, all of those things. If you don't do those things, the door may not be so pretty, is kind of what I am alluding to. So careful how you think, you speak, you interact, all of those things. Be, mindful of your actions, your words, and all of that. Okay. You're gonna have to try, or you will likely be harshly derailed. Yeah. I feel because the North Node's moving into Pisces, it's kind of be the dreamy, go for the dreams, go for the delusion, go for the, I'm going to try and go for the $100,000 a year. I'm going to try to go for the brand new car. I'm going to try to go for, having a private driver. I'm going to try and go for this. And if you don't go for big, you might get really derailed. So if that means that you need to be more visible, maybe you need to be more interactive or engaging, maybe you need to be more in gratitude and less complaining, maybe you need to be more abundant and less scarce, and be grateful for the little things that you have, rather than the, being dissatisfied by the little things that go wrong in the day. So, because we're all going to have that kind of shit, right? Okay. The fear mongering is going to be high. That's the North Node in Pisces. There's also going to be this whole what's really real, what's going on, will be high, will be higher than normal. You can call me a conspiracy theorist, you can call me a truther, you can call me whatever the hell you want. But the reality is that we've all been kind of living in two very different worlds pretty much for the last 4 years. And now the questions are starting to come up of what's really real, what really happened, and do we need to actually take the time to figure it out, or should we just kind of keep moving in whatever direction we're moving in? So the fear mongering though will be extra, and the what's really real will be extra. Okay, and then we have this shift from earth and water into fire and air. And I have a lot to say about this because I happen to have dominant air and, dominant air and water in my personal chart. And so what I've already noticed with a lot of the fire energy is I get really in my masculine and start wanting to do all of the things versus being in my feminine and feeling and visualizing and all of those things. And so if you happen to be one of those people who neglects their self-care, neglects their, and just kind of keeps going and going and going and going and going, you might burn out. So be really conscientious and intentional with your self-care, because the shift from the feminine earth and water into the more masculine fire and air could actually take some people out. Again, this goes back to a lot of activity in Aries, a lot of activity of Uranus moving into Gemini. We've almost had like a slow paced situation for the past 8 to 10 years, and it's definitely going to shift probably around spring to certainly into summer of 2025. So be mindful of that. If you are somebody who needs a slower pace, you're going to have to be responsible to take a slower pace. Otherwise, the undertow and the undercurrent will probably take you out. So that's the energetic overview. Let's dive into some more. And here's the quarterly overview of how this year might play out. January to March is going to be just weird. It's going to be what the fuck. It's going to be foggy because we're going to have Mars continue to be in retrograde until late February. We have the nodes moving from North Node Aries will move into North Node Pisces in January. Therefore, the South Node will move from Libra to Virgo. We will have in March, we will have the first of the, well, not the first of, because September 17th, we had a lunar eclipse in Pisces, but we're going to have a lunar eclipse in Virgo, a solar eclipse in Aries. So we're going to have some transiting stuff. And then at the end of March, we have Neptune moving into Aries. So we'll get to that in a sec. But it's just going to be weird. It's going to feel weird. Pluto's for sure in Aquarius now. Mars is going to be in retrograde. We've just got a lot of weird, foggy, nothing's going to make sense. This is a time, January through March, as it is almost every year, to be introspective, to be focused on your stuff, to be focused on your gratitude, to be focused on what you're planning, and all of that. April through July is going to be false starts. It's going to be plant and take actions where you can, knowing that things may not grow right away. By false starts, I mean you might try and go after something and it just doesn't pan out the way you thought. And you're going to kind of have to, plant seeds to keep things going. But this April through June, we will have Neptune move into Aries. We will have Saturn move into Aries. We will have Jupiter move into Cancer. We'll finally have Mars moving forward from Cancer back into Leo, which could light things up a little bit. But I feel like this is going to be a lot of really be conscientious and intentional about the seeds that you're planting, even though they might be false starts, it still is an opportunity to plant something, even though it may not pan out. It's kind of like if you're trying to get like to the New York Times bestseller list or something like that, or you're trying to get an award, or trying to get elected to a certain position or whatever. It takes years to climb that ladder, right? If you've done anything with martial arts, you know it takes like a solid 10 years to go from white belt to black belt. It doesn't happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight. And that is certainly the case in 2025. Nothing's going to happen overnight. So, just being aware that you're going to be planting seeds anyway. So even if you were to start, martial arts classes in April, you may not get your yellow belt until next year because you're just going to have to learn all of the tedious nitty-gritty little steps here, little steps there of how to correct your moves and whatnot. So that's kind of April through June. July through September, brain overload. Know how to regulate yourself, know how to manage your mental, your nervous system. This is when we have Uranus move from Taurus into Gemini. So Uranus is a lightning bolt. It's a disruptor. It likes to create chaos in a way that's like helpful to humanity. It stirs things up. It shakes things up. It's a bolt of lightning, all of those sorts of things. And it moves into Gemini. So Uranus rules Aquarius. Aquarius is where Pluto is. So we're going to have, and then Gemini is the twins. It's the whirlwind person that changes their mind all the time. Those sorts of things. So you're going to need to know how to regulate your nervous system. You're going to need to know when to unplug, when to disconnect, when you need time away from people, and be really clear, setting boundaries with yourself and with others of when those things need to happen. I'm actually a little nervous about Uranus and Gemini, to be honest with you, because I've not done well with Jupiter and Gemini. I don't really look forward to Uranus and Gemini, but oh well, astrology is astrology, so there we go. But it's really just me being intentional and conscious about when to practice slowing myself down. And you're going to have to do the same because this could be really fast, really quick with all the things that are going to be coming out, coming apart, all of the things. So July through September, really take that time with yourself to know how to manage your nervous system and whatnot. October through December, shadowy, especially Scorpio season when the sun, I guess even in Libra season, we'll have a lot of activity between Mars, the moon in Scorpio, and Pluto in Aquarius, and just lots and lots of activity from October to December that's going to dig up shadows. And this kind of goes back to, if you think about this as a whole process, we're planting seeds, we're having fall starts in spring. By fall, it's going to be shadowy stuff because, and I wish I knew the quote off the top of my head, but I don't, so I'm going to butcher it, and that's okay. But it's kind of like when you set the intention to do something, the first thing that the universe is going to do is show you how you need to become the person who's ready for that thing. And that means digging up shadows. That means that things have to surface that you have to address, right? So if this were a time to work with a coach, with an astro coach like myself, October through December would certainly be the time to do that as those shadows surface and whatnot. That being said, you will be more driven probably towards the end of the year to get after stuff. So be prepared for that. So that's the quarterly overview. Alrighty, here are the eclipses for this year. This year, the nodes move from North Node Aries, South Node Libra into North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo. So we're going to be feeling into our Piscean energy and releasing Virgo energy. So we're going to be feeling into duality, spirituality, water, those sorts of things, and feeling away from or releasing physical daily routine, possessions, like the obsession with detail oriented, like it's kind of go with the flow, right? So unfortunately, that means some Virgos are going to have a really tough time, but we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this. But I do foresee Virgos having a rough go. But okay, so March 14th at 21 degrees Virgo, that's a full moon lunar eclipse. So if you have anything around 20, 21, 22, probably even like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 Virgo, or any of the mutable signs, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, Gemini, this one might have some flavor for you on March 14th. So you might want to mark that date. On March 29th, we have a solar eclipse, new moon in at 8 degrees of Aries. And so we're not done with the Aries Libra eclipses because those nodes will be brand new into the latter degrees of Virgo Pisces. So this 8 degrees solar eclipse in Aries is just how it's falling. September 7th at 15 degrees Pisces, full moon lunar eclipse, the midpoint of the of those nodes being in Virgo Pisces. 15 degrees will be the midpoint. And then on September 21st at 29 degrees of Virgo, a solar eclipse. And I do believe we have 2 new moons in Virgo in September, during like August, September. I believe we have 2 new moons in Virgo. One of them is this solar eclipse. So we have so September or August into September, it's going to be a lot of release around that Virgo energy. So knowing where Pisces Virgo is in your natal chart will be super helpful. So that's what I have for the eclipses. Let's move on. And we have nodal changes. So we have the North Node moving from Aries into Pisces, and we have the South Node moving from Libra into Virgo. So we've talked about this Pisces Virgo axis before. We certainly will for the next 18 months, so just get ready. But notably, this North Node is going to be at 0 Aries from December 31 to January 11. This is a reset because 0 Aries is the first degree of the zodiac. And so we kind of get this reset moment from the 31st to the 11th of January where you really get to make some choices. This, of course, falls right on New Year's Eve and into the new year. Not that I follow the Gregorian calendar because I always think that the new year actually starts at 0 Aries at the vernal equinox, but whatever, we're here for 0 Aries. So we kind of get a double shot almost of new energy, of a new year. And so during this time between December 31 to January 11, it's going to also be right after a new moon in Capricorn on the 30th of December. And so it's going to really be this remarkable time to get your shit together. It's Capricorn season. Capricorn is the longevity sign. It likes to work for the long haul, right? It plays the long game. And a lot of these last 3 Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces do play the long game, right? And so it's really this opportunity of like, what the fuck are you done with? What boundaries are you done playing around with? Stop letting people treat you like crap. Stop letting people talk to you like you're a piece of crap, because you're not. You're a beautiful being. Stop letting yourself talk you out of pursuing your dreams. Stop letting yourself derail and self-sabotage your dreams. This is really like 10 days here of like, I'm fucking done. I am done playing small. I am done playing like I don't matter. I am a beautiful being put here by God, created by God. Whatever your disability or inability or limitations, we all have them. It doesn't matter if it's a physical disability or not. We all have them. And yet we can all overcome them, because if we couldn't, we wouldn't have been given those opportunities to overcome them. Okay, I'm going to jump off my soapbox. North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo until July of 2026, I believe. Oh, I did put it here. Okay, January 11th through July 26th of 2026. So we've got 18 months of being completely fucking delusional. North Node Pisces. Pisces is dreamy. Pisces is water. Pisces is boundaryless. And so there's kind of this, I want to distinguish the difference between having boundaries with people, with things, with your commitments and whatever, and yet having no boundaries as far as setting the bar high. Okay. South Node Virgo, you're ready to release things in your physical environment, in your physical day to day practices, in your physical day to day activities that you're done with, right? This could be that addiction I just talked about, the intoxicants, the spirits, the foods, the activities, exercise. What are you done with? Because you're ready to come into this new space. And the last time these nodes were here was June of 2006 to December of 2007. So just want to think back to that time frame in your life. What were you up to? What was going on? What came through, and all of those things. Permission to be delusional in the best way possible. Yeah, I think what I'm not showing on this slideshow because I'm kind of holding it a little bit, but I'm sure some astrologer, if you want to go look, is probably talking about there's some pretty cool stuff that's happening in 2026. It won't ever be smooth. Like the latter half of this decade is going to be a shit show. Not going to lie. We have Saturn and Neptune and Aries, and neither one of them does well there. So it's not like we get, 3 years of Jupiter and Aries or something like that, where things would be abundant and all that. No, that's not how it's going to go. So it's not going to be the greatest ride ever, but it could be if you choose it to be. It really could be a good ride, but you've got to be the one to make the choices and the changes and shift your ways of thinking and ways of being. So if you I kind of get on a soapbox sometimes that if you're in your mid 40s and you're still complaining about your childhood and how you were raised, grow up, get over it, done. Be done with it. Get therapy, get some self-development help, all of those things. And I don't say that to be rude. I say that because it's like, okay, at what point do you just stop tilling up old crap that you're not even associated with anymore just so you can stay small? So stop saying small because it's time to play big. You've got a North Node in Pisces. It's an opportunity to play big. So play big, okay? Okay, glad you get it. All right. Alrighty, here's the Mercury retrograde, since I know some people like to know these up front. March 14 through April 8th. That one's going to be from 9 degrees of Aries back to 26 degrees of Pisces. That's going to be right around the eclipses as well, so that'll be fun. July 18 through August 11, and that one's going to be from 16 Leo back to 4 degrees of Leo. And so we kind of had that one similarly last year, not quite. And then we have November 1st through November 29th, and that one's going to be from 6 degrees of Sag back to 20 degrees of Scorpio. So if you know where your placements are, the end of Pisces, the beginning of Aries, the middle part of Leo, and the beginning of Sag, and the end of the third decan of Scorpio. You could be having some Mercury retrograde-y stuff. I don't know about y'all, but the last few Mercury retrogrades have definitely been a different flavor than previous Mercury retrogrades. I don't know what's going on with that, but holy cow, have I had some Mercury retrograding happening. So anyway, that's your Mercury retrogrades. Note them on your calendar so you know when he stations direct, or when he stations retrograde, when he stations direct, and you can utilize those days accordingly. Alrighty, and the big story for 2025, because there's not enough, is these outer planets moving. So let's talk about these outer planets. How often do they move, and all of that, and the significance of the sign changes that we are going to see. So Saturn moves every 3 years. And so we've had Saturn in Pisces since 2023. So we have Saturn moving into Aries here in 2025 from May 25th until September 2nd, because Saturn will retrograde back into Pisces at that time.
And so Saturn in Aries, Saturn does not like being in Aries. They don't get along well. Saturn is restrictions and rigidity and rules and authority and all of that. Aries is a kind of like a shoot from the hip type of fire sign. And so the two don't get along well. And so there could be a lot of, that's where the false starts might come from. That's where you're trying to do your thing, but then there's going to be all the roadblocks in the way. That could have a lot to do with the Saturn and Aries situation. So if you are between the ages of 27 and 30, 57 and 60, 87 and 90, if you're 87 and 90 and you're watching my videos, I thank you and I appreciate you. Let me know who you are. But anyway, you guys might be having your Saturn return. So this could be a flavor of that Saturn return for you. So that could be fun. Uranus. Uranus moves every 8-ish years. So Uranus has been in Taurus since 2017 or so. Taurus is slow moving, bull, earth sign, kind of stubborn, all of those things. And Uranus is moving into Gemini. So Gemini is a zippity zappity air sign, right? Thinks fast, changes things fast, things get moving, information overload, all of the things. Uranus is a lightning bolt. It is disruptive. It is a rebel. It is all about the people. So you can imagine Uranus and Gemini is going to be an interesting ride. That is from July 7th until November 7th, when Uranus will retrograde back into Taurus until I think early 2026. This is where you really want to pay attention to your nervous system. You are really going to pay attention to your capacity to be around EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies. You're going to want to pay attention to your capacity to be around the internet, and scrolling and people and information and all of those things. There could also be a lot of change with technology, with money, and all of those types of things. So, be mindful, be responsible, be intentional to regulate yourself during this. Otherwise, this is really where people could start to lose their absolute shit because it's too much, too fast, all the time. Crazy. All right. Neptune. Neptune changes signs about every 12-ish years. So for the last 12 or so years, we have had Neptune in Pisces. Neptune's home sign is Pisces. So he's been pretty content there and pretty happy there. He's moving into Aries from March 30th until October 22nd. I don't know what to think of this. I've tried to do some history deep dives on it. But if we think about Neptune as the dreamy ocean planet, watery, liquids, fluids, intoxicants, spirits, as in alcohol spirits, as well as spirits like spirituality, duality. And we're moving that planet into Aries, which is a rapid fire sign that likes to sprint, that likes to get things done. I just don't think that this is going to work very well. I feel like the combination of Neptune and Aries, Saturn and Aries, and Uranus and Gemini, like people could really get could really get taken out or overcome by escapisms. That's the word, escapisms. So if and I say this a lot, and I don't mean it to sound preachy, but like this really could be the year to get sober from whatever stimulant, whatever. And I've been thinking about this with caffeine and whatnot, and with nicotine because I do vape. And it's I've definitely cut back my caffeine a lot. I've definitely cut back my vaping a lot too, because those are stimulants, right? But even like sugar and food additives and things like that are addictive substances. So this isn't necessarily about alcohol or drugs. It's also about things that we are consuming. This is also about information, Uranus and Gemini. What information, social media scrolling, what books you read, what entertainment you consume. I have been a huge preacher of people who watch like Law and Order SVU. Like, how the hell can you watch a show that entertains people about people being SA'd and whatnot? Like, to me, that's fucking appalling. So I'm not a whodunits type of fan, because shows about murder and shows about SA don't thrill me at all. I think they're absurd. Because if they're happening on a TV show, they're probably happening somewhere in the real world, and that's disgusting to me. Anywho, so, but this is what I'm saying about these 3 planets changing these signs, is like, you're gonna want to be really cognizant of what you are consuming nutritionally, mentally, physically, emotionally, who you're around, the boundaries that you have or have not, all of those things. And so this could be a really crispity crunchity year, but it also has the potential to be really good. But this is why I say there's a lot of false starts, is because these 3 planets changing signs but then retrograding back into their previous signs, we're not going to get the catapult really until early 2026. So, all right, I'll stop rambling about this now. I hope this was helpful. Alrighty, and just to close this up, I'll leave you with the slide of the ways you can work with me. Of course, there's the wellness astrology session that you can work with me on nutrition and fitness according to your natal chart, how that can help you determine your, best practices for working out, best practices for eating well, with using your astrology chart. Also, something that I've learned from working with a couple clients is consumption, which I actually knew this because I wrote it in a book that has yet to be published. But best practices for consumption. So if we change the word nutrition to consumption, because this, like I said, has to do with entertainment, it has to do with literature, it has to do with, news and social media and all of that. And then best fitness practices, what workouts work well, that might help you, and all of those things. Astro coaching is my new offer. You can dive in deep with your astrology chart. This is a 3 or 6 month commitment, where you can really learn how to work with mastering your natal chart, and then get my coaching as well. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you for being here, being a part of my YouTube, checking out my work and all of that. I really appreciate it. It does mean the world to me to be here on this platform, producing videos, having fun, learning stuff. I'm growing all the time. It's frustrating sometimes, but I really enjoy the practices that I get to do to keep learning and growing. Not only as a content creator, but as an astrologer, as a coach, as a business owner, as a writer, all of these things. And I'm excited to see where 2025 is going to take all of us. I think it's going to be such an unpredictably amazing ride. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. So do feel free to leave me comments and let me know like how things play out for you. How did 2024 play out? Did it go the way you thought, or did it go a completely different upside down, sideways kind of way? I keep thinking back to like 2020 and like everybody was going through it and I was thriving because I just went with it. And that was really kind of before I got into, I was learning astrology at the time, so it's kind of fun. And I'll say that about astro coaching is I actually worked with an astro coach when I was learning astrology, and I really have learned to manage my moon, manage my, how I do manage my boundaries and manage my emotions and manage my, I had a lot of stuff when I got into coaching and astrology. I had a lot of stuff going on with my health and well-being and all of that. And so I did work with an astrologer coach, and I can tell you the benefits. You're dealing with her all the time. It's me. I'm living it out loud. And so now I'm excited to offer it to y'all as, as a resource. You can get this astro coaching program. It really is super beneficial to really work with an astrologer long term. Somebody recently asked me if I had a full chart reading. I don't really offer them because I don't feel like they're beneficial. You can get somebody to tell you all of your planets, all of your points, all of your placements. But if you're not actually going to work with the transiting astrology, and your personal astrology, you're not going to learn the cycles. That's why I do wellness astrology, which used to be moon astrology tarot. It's why I do astrology the way that I do, because it's a practice of how does your system respond to transiting astrology, and that's how you learn to manage your astrology, and how you learn to master your astrology. So anyway, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate you. Have a wonderful end of 2024, and let's get ready for 2025. It kicks off with some good stuff to set the stage to move forward. So thank you. I appreciate you. Once again, drop me a comment, drop me a like. I love hearing from y'all. So thank you so much, and have a great one.